After a dramatic season opener in Melbourne, Formula One heads east to Shanghai and attention turns to the Chinese Grand Prix. Will we see Mercedes leading the way once again, or will the chasing pack close the gap? A different circuit means new challenges, and this weekend adds another twist. The first sprint weekend of the season. Who will leave China on top? Who will have a lot of work to do? We'll soon find out. Welcome to the Shanghai International Circuit. And welcome down to the pit lane. We have got a lot to discuss, a lot to dissect ahead of the second Grand Prix of the season. Joining me for this one, I'm Betty Glover, former Formula One driver in Jolyon Palmer. Our lead commentator, Alex Jacques, has been released from the commentary box. Feeling good, Jacques?
Loving being down here in the pit lane.
That's what we like. And Grand Prix winning strategist Ruth Buscombe joins us as well. Jolyon, I'm going to come to you first because Mercedes, they've got the dominance. Everybody thought that they would in Melbourne. Do you think anybody can disrupt that today or this weekend?
I think everyone will have a better chance. I don't think there'll be as much dominance for Mercedes. Certainly in qualifying here, it's a very different circuit. Melbourne was massively reliant on power unit recharging, on harvesting energy. Here it's really not going to be as dramatic as that. So I think, yeah, Ferrari are going to be closer. I think their customers are going to be closer. Hopefully we'll have a better showing, at least on Saturday's qualifying.
Well, I hope so. Ruth, coming to you because, look, we've got the sprint weekend. This is the first sprint of the 2026 season, the first sprint with these new regulations. That means that there's a few changes. Teams have less time to sort things out. One practice session tomorrow before sprint qualifying. How much of an impact is that going to have?
Huge. Instead of 3 hours, they have 1 hour. And they've got to do all the normal setup work a team's got to do for a sprint, understand the tyres. Graining dominated the pace for both Lando and Max in last week's race. This is the worst track of the season for graining, or the toughest challenge, depending on how you want to frame it. Setup. You have to get the setup right for the car. That's everything from choosing the correct rear wing. We might see a Macarena rear wing, but also getting your basics right. We've seen disqualifications. Outlaps. Everything is going to be different. We've got different tyres this week, C2, C3, C4. Now combine all of that with the fact that we've got brand new cars and teams are still trying to work out how to maximise energy management. Even if it's a bit easier than last week with just one main zone, it is not easy for the teams, but great for us to watch.
Oh, always. There's still lots of questions to be answered. Alex, the weather is a lot cooler here. We've come from Melbourne where it was very hot, it was very sweaty. Now we've got a nice cool breeze, still got the blue skies, no chance of rain as it stands. But what sort of impact is this cold weather going to have on the race?
I'm not sure I'd want to be warming tyres around this racetrack this weekend. I think it's very, very tricky. It was a lot warmer here last year, for reference, not just last week as well in Melbourne. It's very much jacket weather, maybe even shacket weather. So the teams are going to have to get to grips with that.
Right, hold on. I'm not moving on until you explain to everybody what a shacket is.
A sort of shirt and jacket hybrid. This is what everyone watches weekend warm-up for. So, yeah, I'm glad we've covered that.
Jolyon is absolutely loving all of the fashion chat. OK, so George Russell led a Mercedes 1-2 in the opener of the season. This is how he did it.
We begin a new era for Formula One. New teams, new engines, new cars. The beginning of a season is always special.
The season starts now.
Piastri in the barriers, out before it even begins.
Everyone give me some space, I gotta cut to the chase.
The new season is underway. Oh my word. Charles Leclerc to the inside, he's done it. Hamilton then gets up to third. What a start for the Ferraris.
This is not on the script for Mercedes.
Russell putting pressure on Leclerc.
The Mercedes man reclaims the lead. Charles Leclerc all the way around the outside. Pass, repass.
It is this wonderful game of cat and mouse.
Charles Leclerc going to cling on to the lead with his fingertips. Max Verstappen 14 places up from where he started.
In for a decent result.
Oh, problem for Hadjar.
There's broken.
BSC, box.
Mercedes get their car into clear air. Right now the race is in the balance.
At least one of us should have come in.
That Mercedes is a rocket ship.
I'm amazed that Ferrari didn't split the strategies.
George Russell back into the lead.
This kid is just showing his stripes.
Points as an 18-year-old on debut.
I loved it.
Here's Gabriel Bortoleto.
His name's at the future of Formula One.
Audi score points in their first ever Grand Prix. You ripper. George Russell wins the Australian Grand Prix. Woo! The pre-season favourite begins with a win.
So this new era of Formula One in 2026 kicked off with a pretty perfect start then for Mercedes. Did you expect that, Alex Jacques? I mean,
Yes.
it was everyone's prediction, wasn't it?
It was, and they showed why for a reason. They have a complete mastery of energy deployment at the moment, and Australia was a phenomenal circuit for that.
Ruth, were they holding back?
You know, the debate rages on. I'm a cynic, because in 2014, even in the first race, Mercedes was still holding back something. For me, qualifying was everything they had. In the race, I want to see when they have a challenging car right in their gearbox, if they've got any more pace, or if they were slightly cruising.
Jolyon, it was a brilliant start, wasn't it? Those first 9 laps, George Russell and Charles Leclerc just battling it out. Talk us through what happened there.
Yeah, it was a great game of cat and mouse between Leclerc and Russell. I loved it. It started straight away from the get-go. So we knew the Ferrari was going to be good off the line. Hadjar's actually amazing off the line, but doesn't have any battery to make the most of it. So then you got Leclerc diving down the inside of Russell, which was a real statement of intent. Look at Hamilton right up there as well, bearing in mind he started 7th, goes wide. But then we get the game of battery charging and deploying. So you got Russell coming through. Nearly a whole lap later, Leclerc comes back past him, which means he has to do it quite aggressively around the outside. The next time George tries at turn 3, and they had this game of how late can you brake into 3 and how much can you recharge. Not enough if you're George, so he runs out of juice down towards turn 9 again. This time he doesn't have nearly as much as he had earlier on. So he thinks, right, let's go again. Let's go turn 1 this time. Makes it through, but he's too late on the brakes, trying to overtake in his 3rd different spot. And Charles comes back through once again for 3. Now, I thought at this point, this is going to leave Charles quite vulnerable on the recharge, like we saw George on the last lap. But he manages to just back up George in towards turn 4 here, and that just allows him that little bit of a buffer. And you've got Lewis right on the tail of George as well to give him something extra to worry about. It was a brilliant bit of racing from the two. George trying to get experimental. Charles basically just covering him off at all angles. I thought the first move that George did was his best chance, because he had nearly one whole lap to get energy back into the battery for the long run to 6. But it wasn't enough. Charles stayed within a second. He had overtake, which means he had more power to use for longer, especially on that run in towards 9, and came back through. And then, by the way, he had 3 laps of keeping George at bay before we had the VSC, and he just got the gap to over a second as the VSC was called for Isaac Hadjar. So a great game of cat and mouse, and genuine pace from the Ferraris at that stage to just disrupt the Mercedes and keep them behind.
Must have been quite fun to commentate on, Alex.
It was very fun to commentate on, and to be honest, a little bit unexpected the Ferrari would give that much of a challenge to Mercedes. I think a few people might have thought, is George Russell just toying with Ferrari here? The team are absolutely adamant that they weren't, that was a straight fight, and that their car got better as the stint went on. So that was interesting.
We know that Melbourne really suited Mercedes. Do you think there's going to be different challenges here in China, and maybe Ferrari can get a little bit closer?
Well, if Mercedes is a bit of a nightmare for the rest of the teams in your power usage, here is basically fine. You have to consider at certain parts of the circuit, but there'll be far less super clipping, and there are far more heavy braking zones around this racetrack. So as a result, it'll be much closer to what we saw in Bahrain testing, when it was very difficult to tell the difference.
And what we actually saw was the car that came out top in the grip limited, so in the corners, was the Ferrari. And they have another ace, potentially, in their sleeves, which is this Macarena rear wing, which could help them again aerodynamically.
Do you know what? We're going to talk about that in a moment, Ruth. You're getting ahead of me. But let's hear from Lewis Hamilton then. Last time Ferrari won anything in Formula One was here in Shanghai at that sprint. Let's hear from him now. He's been talking to Mike Seymour.
Lewis, good to see you. From what we saw in Australia, it looks as though you're really enjoying this new car, feeling more comfortable. How good does that feel after last year, and how excited are you for what might be possible this year? Obviously, Mercedes strong out of the blocks as well, but from Ferrari's side.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fun last week. It's been just also to have extra testing was fun for us, because we obviously normally it's only a day and a half in a car or something like that before the first race. So get more running, and then a lot discovered through the race from start to end. We knew that Mercedes were looking really strong, and little did we know it was as big a gap that we saw, but not an impossible gap to close. It's just going to take all hands on deck, and that I'm confident in my team doing absolutely everything back at the factory to try and close that gap.
So, Jolyon, do you think Ferrari are a real threat?
I think they should be on race day. As Ruth described, their cornering speeds were every bit as good as Mercedes, even better in some of the low-speed corners. But I don't think they got their energy deployment right in qualifying. That gap shouldn't have been 8/10. It was much closer in the race when they optimised what they were doing lap on lap. And we know their starts are consistently good. So I think they're going to be a threat regularly. I think some circuits they could even be favourites with their car. This one I think is probably still heading towards Mercedes, but I think they'll be hopefully giving us a race.
Ruth, we're standing outside the Ferrari garage now. Can you see any rotating rear wings?
Do you know what? They've not got it on. But that doesn't mean we're not going to see it tomorrow. You could also split across. You've got 1 hour of practice, so you might want to have your kind of safe bank of data and then a slightly more experimental one-on-one car. And the starts, again, they've definitely got that on both cars. We've got 2 starts this weekend, at least 2 starts. And then for a sprint, it's not just one stint. A start can solidify your entire race, especially if the tyres are as fragile as we saw them last year. Could mean another sneaky Ferrari moment.
Oh, well, we'll soon find out. Well, also hoping to be up there in the mix is, of course, McLaren. Lando Norris finished P5 in Melbourne. Oscar Piastri had that absolute nightmare crash on the way to the grid. Here they both are talking to Mike Seymour.
So, Lando, round 1 of the season behind us. What have you and the team taken from that first weekend? Long year ahead, still plenty of opportunities, but what's the debrief been like, the position that you're in at the moment?
A lot of stuff, I guess. A weekend full of learnings. Some good things, some not so good things, but all things that we want to improve on. So it's been a busy week for the whole team, both the team that are here traveling, but also the team back in MTC, trying to step it up as much as possible. Learn what we could from others, learn what we could from ourselves, and do a much better job all round here in Shanghai.
Oscar, a new week, another Grand Prix. How quickly were you able to put last week behind you, and what do you think about yourself and the team's chances here in China?
Yeah, I mean, it was relatively quick to put that behind me. Obviously, one I'd rather forget, but yeah, I think having a race this weekend is always nice, and there's still plenty to focus on. There's still plenty to try and learn from all the running we did in Melbourne. And even just for me, trying to understand what racing looks like now was interesting to watch, at least. So I think our chances, I'm not expecting it to be dramatically different to Melbourne. I think we've identified quite a lot of areas where we can improve and where we could have done better. But I think most people will have those opportunities. So I think it'll be a similar picture, but hopefully we can get a bit closer.
Well, last weekend was absolutely gut-wrenching to watch, really, wasn't it? Oscar Piastri crashing on the way to the grid at his home race as well. Jolyon, is it almost better that he's going straight into another race this weekend and he doesn't have to wait to drive again?
100%. The worst thing you can do, especially when you've already got to watch your home race from the sidelines, is to just stew on it for a couple of weeks. So I think that's the perfect thing for Oscar. I think he's driving well. He was unlucky. He had a torque spike on the exit of that corner on the way around to the grid. Wasn't expecting it. There was a bit of a when you got low grip, you short shift, but the engine sort of would have bogged, so he got extra deployment to try and keep it there. But he wasn't expecting it, and on low grip, off the curb, it's unlucky. I think that one. Oscar took it on the chin, but yeah, you want to just get out there and put it right straight away.
Alex, what do you think is sort of not quite working for McLaren, considering they were so dominant last year? Where are they going slightly wrong?
Well, they've got a problem on both aspects of the car. The chassis is not as quick as, say, Ferrari through the corners, and they don't fully understand their power unit. They only got the specification of power unit that Mercedes have. They didn't have it in testing, only got it in Australia. Understanding that and how to deploy it and the efficiency of how to deploy it, that is a huge part of the game. That is basically the game this year. And they're only at the beginning of that journey at the moment. With both of those things, they've got a long way to go.
It's interesting. I was speaking to Alpine, who've got the Mercedes power unit in testing. I was saying, oh, you must be pretty chuffed. Mercedes seem to be ahead. You've got the same power unit. And they were always like, well, it's not quite what you think. It's, you know, it's teething issues. It's not bad, but we're still trying to get onto understanding Mercedes. And I think we've learned a lot more after Melbourne, the problems the customer teams have got with the Mercedes power unit. They've basically been given the tools. They have to have the same hardware and software, but they've not been told how to optimize it by a team that know how to do it and effectively are trying to keep their cards close to their chest. So McLaren, who've beaten them for the last couple of years, can't go and gazump them again. And it's not only hurting McLaren, but also Williams and Alpine, who can't use effectively the best power unit in the optimum way.
So they've been given the tools, but not the instruction manual, basically.
Yeah.
Another problem, Ruth, that McLaren have is graining. Red Bull had that issue as well. Why are they having that?
You know, there's two schools of thought. One is, so graining happens when you're pushing on the tyres. The two cars that had the most graining were Lando and Max, that were kind of pushing the hardest of those leaders. So it could be an issue that goes away. Obviously, they didn't have another car to compare to. Both of those teams, DNF, Isaac Hadjar on lap 11, Oscar didn't have the reference. So I think they're going to be hoping it's not a theme that continues into this weekend. It will be the ultimate test. But if I'm Lando, the other question I have is, this is not a track where I've done particularly well against my teammate. One of the few tracks he's been gazumped, by want of a better term, by Oscar. Oscar had the best of him, not only in qualifying, better rotation, better exits on traction, but also in the race himself as well. Lando's a bit scrappy on, dropped that wheel on, lost positions at the start. A few issues here for them to be wanting to fix.
Jolyon, actually, Oscar has, like Ruth said, had so much success here in the past. He got his first pole position last time. You were watching him. How did he do that? Talk us through that moment.
He was dialed in the whole way through. Let's play it in then, the pole app, and we can see how this is going to affect the cars this year, because it's such a different circuit.
Yeah, nice, cool.
So, we're into the final turn and launching. Now we're going to have active aero, wings open at this stage, but look how quick he's able to carry speed in, nearly 200 miles per hour. It's going to be a very quick approach this year as well, with the extra torque as you go through one and then turn two as well, slowing it down through the apexes. It's 60 miles per hour pretty much exactly through turns 2 and then 3. This exit is going to be savage with the amount of power delivery they've got now. The torque is going to mean they're screaming coming through turn 3 and quick in towards 6 for another braking zone. Oscar's neat and tidy on this lap. New soft tyres giving him good traction. Again, it's going to be difficult before we get to the high speed now. Big challenges through 7. It's flat. This one I think is a little bit harder, bumpy through the right-hander of turn 8. You've got to pull it back to the right-hand side for your double apex 9 and then 10, but that won't be flat, I don't think, in quali with these cars. A little bit less downforce and all of that torque. Short burst up towards turn 11. And you've got another one of these really, really bizarre 270-degree corners. And this is what Ruth is talking about. It's going to hurt that left front tyre, especially if it's not in the operating window. So the left fronts are going to be under a bit of pressure in race trim. Look at the speed. Build and build. We're going to have rear and front wings open as the energy deploys, and then we'll harvest a little bit at this point on the circuit once we pick a braking zone. Around 100 metres for the final turn. Best overtaking chance, and you've got to straight line the exit on quali mode to make sure you get that power down. This last corner is so tricky. The apex curve is massive. The gravel's there to greet you on the exit if you get it wrong as well. So the challenges don't stop right to the end. Oscar nailed it. Hairpin of his life last year, which is such a weird thing. You want a pole up to be like, oh, nailed through the high speed, managing to find it by bravery and commitment. Just tweaked a little bit of apex speed in the hairpin.
Did you ever have a hairpin of your life?
There's no greater feeling, Betty.
No greater
when you
feeling.
nail a hairpin. It's weird because sometimes you get the rotation, so you go down the gears, especially we're going to see it more this year because the cars are regenning on that rear axle. So you're going to be banging down the gears, you're going to get that rotation on the rear, and the perfect hairpin is when you turn it in and you basically almost don't need to turn because the car's just going on its own. And then you're like, how have I done that? And it is so difficult to repeat it. You know, you have to be a genius to get the perfect slip through that corner. But when it happens, you're like, okay, let's go.
Okay, Jacques, talk us through some of the challenges of this circuit then. You've got heavy braking zones, 2 long straights. What can the drivers expect?
Drivers are going to be really looking forward to attacking this one because they are going to be able to attack this one. They've been given the most megajoules of recharge on the battery. It's at 9. Not every track gets that. It can go as low as 5. with the method that the FA does side before the weekend. So as a result, you're constantly recharging the battery. You might have a little bit of super clipping through 7 and 8, but you can fully attack. It's a bit of a challenge. Back straight might be different, but the drivers are going to be, I think, emerging after quali with smiles on faces.
Oh, lovely stuff. OK, well, hopefully with a smile on his face is our reporter, Chris Medland. He's been standing by with Cadillac reserve driver Jolyon.
Joe, your home Grand Prix, it must always be a really, really special weekend for you coming here to Shanghai.
Yeah, of course. It's always very special, especially after the 2024 experience I had. So it's just amazing crowd, you know. Formula One's getting more well noted and more popular as well with this platform. So I'm just grateful to see so many fans supporting me around the city, you know, this weekend. So they've been just always following around for all the events and just showing their support. So it just feels like really home, really warm reception and just great.
You mentioned 2024. I mean, such emotional scenes we saw when you were racing here back then. Is that more than a career highlight? Is that almost like a life highlight?
Honestly, it was a live highlight. Yeah, I would say my biggest highlight in terms of the race weekend, it will be barring debut that, you know, score points on your first race. But still, just overall, like thinking about Formula One 2024 I had in my Shanghai Chinese Grand Prix, that's bigger emotion compared to, let's say, score points on debut. Just because with, you know, every time stepping in the car, jumping into the seats, everyone's shouting, you know, the whole crowd goes crazy. And then before the race as well, I can hear them, even with the helmet on after the race, that massive emotional moments. It was not expected from myself, but, you know, I don't get too emotional really, but that was just hell of a feeling I had. And it was just goosebumps over the whole feeling. I just feel like whole Grand Prix was shouting out your name. So that was just very special day of my life.
And as you said, the fan support has remained constant, even when you've gone into a reserve role these last couple of years. Last year with Ferrari, now the new adventure with Cadillac. Just how excited are you to be part of this journey?
Yeah, this journey is super exciting because it's a brand new team that only just started, you know, 1 year and a bit ago. So I'm just really proud that what they all achieved as a team. Each individual member to put the car on ground, to making sure we have a successful finishing across the finishing line in Melbourne. And now here in Shanghai, there's a lot of work to do, but I think a lot of people, I'm knowing them well, and they are very good at their job and also, you know, professional-wise experience as well. So I'm just looking forward to put that history together with Cadillac F1 team, and hopefully that, you know, we can get the car into the points in near future and then start from that.
Well, enjoy that challenge, but enjoy this weekend as well.
Thank you so much.
So Cadillac made their debut in Formula One. Let's move on to the sort of middle of the pack then, because Haas are looking quite good, Racing Bulls are looking quite good. Jolyon Arvid Lindblad, rookie, the only rookie in Formula One this season, had a cracker of a first race.
Yeah, sensational. Normally we'd be coming here, second race, it's a sprint weekend, all of these new regs, everything, you'd be thinking, well, this is going to be tough for him. But he was quick in FP1 very, very, very early on. He had an issue and then got up to pace quickly. So I think he's got so much confidence. He's had a little bit more running in pre-season because of the shakedown and the double Bahrain test. Hey, I've got high hopes that the Lindblad can be strong again. Racing Bulls were quick here last year.
They were, weren't they? Are you expecting a lot from Racing Bulls, Alex?
They build, traditionally, no matter what that team has been called, they build a wonderful car that young drivers can use, and then they fade towards the end of the season. So if you're going to score points, you've got to score points at the start of the year.
Ruth, Haas also looking fairly impressive, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, points and teamwork. You know, they got those amazing start off the block in winter testing, solidified it, race one, Ollie Behrman in the points, and actually both cars working together to expand that gap that meant he could box. I'm excited to see where they are here. It's going to be interesting, the fight between them and Racing Bulls, I think, with who comes out the top at the midfield.
Audi, Alex, also got their first points, which Jonathan Wheatley, he was absolutely buzzing about.
Yeah, and Gabriel Bortoletto was saying on the in-lap, would you have thought about this? Very unusual to bring a new chassis and a new power unit at the same time. Scored points as well. They will be hoping to keep that momentum going.
One team, though, that is really struggling is Williams, Jolyon. I know you've wanted to sort of talk about them. Where is the bulk of it going wrong?
Well, it's going wrong across the board. I think weight is the thing that we've spoken about already at length. But there's a lot of things that are not working properly on that car. They don't have downforce. The weight is an issue. Procedurally, there's a few things that are not tidy. And then Carlos had reliability as well. And for me, I think they're probably the biggest disappointment. You've got to park Aston Martin because they're going to be the biggest disappointment, you know, for a very long time. But Williams, with all their hopes, they've really struggled, and I don't think it's going to get easier this weekend. It's a difficult circuit. It's front limited, and that hasn't always suited their car either.
Let's talk about Alpine then, because they're also a Mercedes customer, Alex, and they're not doing as well as people expected, but they're still in that midfield group, aren't they?
Pierre Gasly in the press conference earlier let out a huge sigh when he was asked what did they learn in Melbourne. The answer was a lot. He said they've got a very long way to go. But he's sitting next to Fernando Alonso in the press conference, and Fernando Alonso said, we don't know when we're going to have a normal weekend. So be grateful for what you've got, Pierre, because Alpine capable of scoring points again this weekend, I think.
Ruth, just a word on Aston Martin then. I know Fernando Alonso really frustrated. They're not gathering as much data as they could have wanted. What can they get out of this weekend?
Racing is relative. They're going to have to try and make a step on what they were last week. Finishing the race with 2 cars has got to be, you know, the first milestone. To finish first you must finish is a long road to winning championships. But McLaren started there, you know, 5 years ago, and now they're winning. So best of luck to them.
OK, well, I'm sure they'll appreciate that. This is the schedule then. This is what you've got coming up this weekend. You will not want to miss a second of it. It all gets started tomorrow. We've got 1 hour of practice that gets underway at 11:10 local time. We've then got sprint quali, so we're getting straight into it. I hope Alex Jacques has warmed up his voice muscles. Then on Saturday, we've got our pre-sprint show. We'll be bringing you that at 10:15 local time. We've then got our first sprint of the 2026 season. We'll be debriefing it all before we go into qualifying at 3 o'clock local time. Then on Sunday, it is the big one. We've got the Chinese Grand Prix 2026. Who is going to win that? Also, everybody, don't forget, we've got F1 Academy. They're kicking off their season this weekend. It's their first of 14 races. They've got 11 rookies on the grid. 11 rookies. It's going to be carnage, Jolyon.
It's going to be good. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah, you don't want to miss any of that. Alex, let's get some final... You were just daydreaming into the distance.
I was enjoying hearing about F1 Academy. I was thinking at the end of last year it was pretty spicy. 11 rookies going to be very spicy.
It is indeed. Come on then, what are your predictions for this weekend? Across the board.
I think we're going to see a Mercedes win the race with George Russell. I think we're going to have Ferrari second and third with Charles Leclerc ahead of Lewis Hamilton.
It's not a bold prediction.
It's fairly bold. No Kimi Antonelli.
No Kimi Antonelli, Ruth. What do you make of that?
I think he'll be P2, but I want to see what the Red Bull's got. You know, we didn't see Max set a lap fully in qualifying with that issue. He was coming through the field. He wasn't too bad. I want to see where they stack up next to the Ferrari this race weekend, because I think that is still a bit of an unknown.
Go on, Jolyon.
Yeah, Max was actually really quick last time out. I really enjoyed his racing from the back. He was pretty cutthroat on his way through. And actually, I was looking, the 6 laps before Isaac Hadjar pulled off with reliability, Max took 2 seconds out of him whilst coming through the field. He cleared Bortoletto, he cleared Behrman and Gasly whilst going very, very quickly. So Max, starting at the front in clean air, could still be a threat for the podium, but I don't feel like he's going to quite get there. I still think Mercedes and Ferrari are too quick.
I feel like Max is always a threat. Go on, give us your top 3.
Let's go Russell and then... I was about to say the same thing. Let's go Ferrari. Ferrari are going to take
quickly.
it.
He slapped his leg at everything. OK, so you two are on the same page. Ruth thinks Kimi P2. It is all to play for. It's all going to be going on this weekend. The 2026 Formula One season is officially underway. We've got our second Grand Prix coming right up, the Chinese Grand Prix. You're not going to want to miss any of it. And to just throw it in the mix, we've got our first sprint as well. So it is going to be very exciting. Don't go anywhere. We'll build up tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Welcome to Shanghai International Circuit. The Chinese Grand Prix is underway. Cars absolutely everywhere.
This couldn't be much closer.
The 2 Ferraris have made contact. That's a late lunge and a half. Elbows out, brilliant! Huge atmosphere from the capacity crowds. Oh, look at that! Can't slow it down. I can't believe